Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning, and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. And you are in touch with the compensatory concept. I'm Mr. Bobby, the show's co-host, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. On the line, we have from Washington, D.C., excuse me, Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., who will be here to answer your questions, statements to be made, and his thoughts on the continuing battle against racism and white supremacy. Now, if you would like to get in contact with the show, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, and we will do our best to get you on. You can also Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and we will do our best to try and get you on this week. We have a lot of Gmails that we need to get to, and we will. Concerning the 2-hour show, this is how it's going to work right now. If you wanted to go or to work, then there's something that you're going to have to do. And by the way, thank you for the many thousands of people who wrote in requesting that we go 2 hours. That was beautiful. Now, let's go to the next step. Now, we have to have a sponsor. I talked with some people in management, and it was determined that we need some sponsors, in order to be able to do the second hour. So, if you know of any entity that would like to sponsor the second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and by the response that I have gotten from thousands of you, wow, it was so many I couldn't even read them all, but there were just thousands of them. This is what you need to do. Find if you know of a sponsor, let us know, and you can do that by emailing edozier@talktainmentradio.com, and he will get that and do what they do with that, discuss it, and go ahead about it, and then we'll see. But there's got to be work done on all of our parts. So Mr. Fuller and myself are willing to go that next hour, and that next hour, I understand, could be and will be live. So there's something you must do, and that is to, if you know of someone who would like to give an hour or sponsor an hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and you have indicated that the show is so important to you, then that's what you do. Contact E, as in Ed, E. Dozier at TalkTainmentRadio.com, and we will take it from there. Okay. Mr. Fuller is on the line, and Mr. Fuller, I understand, is very hot in the D.C. area, but as I usually ask, how are you doing this morning?
I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay, good. Before I take the calls, there was a fine question from Peter in New York. Well, I start the show programs off, and he was indicating how much the show means to him, but he was talking or speaking to me. He emailed me about gentrification, and he said, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby, I would like to ask a question during the compensatory concept show about the following question. he says here, Mr. Fuller, is it possible that gentrification is simply a, quote, natural phenomenon, end of quote, or is it more accurately a tactical weapon of systematic white supremacy?
Well, it to the extent that a white supremacist has anything to do with it, then that's just for the convenience of people, those white people, not all, but those white people who believe in white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
And they do things for their convenience. That's their priority. That's the whole point in being a white supremacist, that you do things at the expense of non-white people for your own convenience. That's the essence of racism. You look around and you say, what is it that I want to do with myself? I think what I'll do, I think I moved out from the city some time ago.
Yes, sir.
And I think that what I'll do as a white person, so racists always do what is for their convenience at the expense of the people who they consider their legitimate subjects, which will be anybody who has color in his or her skin. That's what racism is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are classified as white, if you want to look at it like you're fortunate enough to have been born white, you are considered to be a member of the club, the exclusive club, from non-white, which means you are supposed to have conveniences that people who are non-white do not have. So included in that was being able to go wherever you want to go, when you want to go, with no restrictions,
mm-hmm.
and do whatever you want to do with no restrictions, or with only those restrictions that would benefit the majority of those white people, and will not include all white people,
yes,
presumably,
mm-hmm.
but those white people who believe in mistreating people based on color and gaining from it fun, glory, and or material comfort.
Which would include money, correct?
Which would include money or anything that they consider to be a convenience for the person. In other words, people like conveniences. All people like conveniences. So somebody a long time ago thought of a convenience called racism. In other words, it would be nice to have some people that you can just snap your finger and those people have to jump to what you're saying and say, I will do, master, you are my master, and I will do whatever you tell me to do at any time you tell me to do it, no matter what it is. I will do my best to carry it out. And you have the authority to whip me into doing the things that I don't want to do. And so that's what racism is all about.
Yes, sir.
And so therefore, this so-called gentrification can be construed based on the evidence that this could be just another move, for the most part, not on the part of everybody, but on the part of a large number of white people who decide, well, let's just move these Negroes out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Negroes are not supposed to get in the way of anybody who's classified as white.
Mm-hmm.
These black people, if they're somewhere where I want to go and I don't want them to be where I'm going, move them out so that I can move in. And they have all kinds of ways of doing
yes.
that. And that is, for one thing, in modern societies, just say, well, are you going to order them out? I mean, at gunpoint or whatever? Oh, no, we don't have to do that. All we have to do is just go up on their rent.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have to just tell them the rent's going to double wherever they are. And they got to get out if they can't pay the rent. Now, they can stay there if they can pay the rent, but we will see to it that they can't pay the rent, because we are the ones who provide the jobs that pay them anyway. So we know what they can pay and what they can't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, we got the phone lines back up, so now you may resume the calling, 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and we think we have all the technical bugs worked out. Appreciate your patience with that. You're listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTeamAtRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. Continuing on, but given a little sideline with that, Mr. Fuller, with that gentrification thing, I've noticed that one of the things that I've seen that the racists are very clever at doing is using confusion. And I remember many shows that you and I have done, and we talked about this, and it just seems like that a lot of things, there is deliberate confusion put in to throw you off the track. Someone was asking me about, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. But when I start doing a little research about that, skepticism came in my mind because couldn't discover who was totally in charge of that or where did that come from. Now, it appeared to me that it could have been, quote unquote, a black thing, whatever that is. But then I understand that George Soros had a lot to do with it, and I couldn't find out what his agenda was. Could you elaborate on a little bit about this confusion?
Whenever terms, including the term gentrification, whenever a new term comes out of nowhere or a slang expression, one of the first questions that should be asked, where did that come from? Who originated it? Somebody says these things.
Right.
Somebody came up with a term called gentrification. And then, presumably, all terms have some type of definition.
Definition, yes,
so
sir.
So you want the person who came up with the term to give the definition. Now, I recently heard, because I'd been asking the question, where did Black Lives Matter come from? I mean, who were the people who first used this expression? These people presumably have names. Now, I heard, not accurately because I just heard just a part of it on television the other day. Someone actually has done some research, and it seems like it was quick research, and they came and they found out that it was 3 ladies. Now, they didn't say whether these ladies were white or non-white, but I presume that they were non-white. They were black ladies. And it was 3 black ladies somewhere. Mm-hmm. I didn't get their names. I was trying to find a piece of paper and pen to write it down.
Yes, sir.
But I think that these names are already known. It was 3 black ladies that came up with this expression, Black Lives Matter. And then it spread. And then it became, people started calling it, well, not an organization, because didn't seem to be an organization. It was just a slogan. And then they said, well, it's possibly a movement. But then other people started saying, well, but this movement, and that's when it seems like white people got involved and say, well, a movement is just a movement. What is a real movement without an organization? So maybe it needs to be organized. Now, so this thing comes up now. We got 2 words on the board now: movement, organization. What's the difference between a movement and an organization?
Good
so you
question.
got to watch when these words start creeping into the language.
Yes, sir.
Because then you have to start asking, wait a minute, where are these words coming from? How did the quote-unquote movement suddenly, or maybe slowly, evolve into something called, well, the movement has to become an organization, and maybe a multitude of organizations. And in these organizations, how are they going to be structured? Are there going to be people who are heads of the organization?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a head of the movement? And on and on and on. See, I mean, these are the questions that should be asked as this thing progresses on. And because the white supremacists, they study everything in detail, and they always figure, oh, well, now, it looks like these black people are getting something called Black Lives Matter going. What does that mean? Say, well, we'll poke around and kind of find out what it means. We'll ask some of the black people, what do they think it means? And then we will start steering it in the way that we want it to go.
Yes.
After we get a grasp on what they intend to do with it, if they indeed know what they intend to do with it. Okay? So these are the things, these questions should be asked all along. Anytime these words start appearing, find out where the words are coming from and get the people who started it. That's what I would do. That's the legitimate thing to do. That's the correct thing to do, is have the spokespersons who came up with the term Black Lives Matter, have them at the forefront of explaining what they meant when they said it. Because, logically speaking, this is how it got started. So the people who start things, everybody stands by their work.
That's right.
So when other people start coming in, on the tail end or in the middle or something like that, some of them with excellent intentions, correct intentions, some of them maybe with not the correct intentions, then you'll be able to spot who it is.
Right.
All right.
Okay, you're listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainMenRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. You can get in contact with the show by calling 1-877-932-9766. Are the phone lines working, Gayla, now? Okay, good. They said the phone lines are working, so you can light them up. That's 1-877-932-9766. Or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will have Mr. Fuller address your concern. Since we were off for a week or so, Mr. Fuller, is there anything that came to your mind that you would like to address?
Well, my plan was today just address first of all, just what's in the news, and that is the Black Lives Matter.
Oh, okay.
And we've just about touched on that. But the Black Lives Matter came out of what? It came out of black people being killed. So I am required, according to what I've written, the compensatory code, to codify what this is all about and try to come up with what do you do.
Yes, sir.
See, everything is thought, speech, and action.
Yes, sir.
So we went from Black Lives Matter, and then in a little while, right behind that, people were saying what? Well, now, you're saying Black Lives Matter. Well, you're having some white officers who are just being gunned down just for trying to do their job, and sometimes they're not even talking to anybody. They're just sitting innocently and making out reports, and somebody walks up and kills them. Do their lives matter? So then people start saying, okay, we got Black Lives Matter. What about white lives matter? Do they matter? Do the lives of white people matter? Do the lives of black people matter? Whose life matters? Is it that black people's lives matter, but white people's lives don't matter? Or do white people's lives matter and black people's lives don't matter? So now we got two things on the board. So they went from that to three things. Well, why not say all lives matter? So that appears to be just about where we are now. But we're saying back and forth, well, yeah, all lives do matter, but black lives matter on account of black lives haven't been emphasized as mattering. And that's why we keep saying Black Lives Matter. And then the white people say, yeah, well, but you're leaving out white people. Our lives matter, too. So they say, well, just why not say all lives matter? Yeah, but when we say all lives matter, we get right back to where we were in the beginning, and that is not paying any attention to Black Lives Matter because black lives seem to be not mattering as much as white lives. So I say, hey, you have to address the entire system of white supremacy because now you're saying that this is a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
And since Black Lives Matter is a major problem that's got to be solved, and other people are saying white lives matter too, that's a problem that's got to be solved by saying all lives matter. So if all lives matter, then you're talking about all of the people on the planet. Are you saying their lives matter? Yes, that's the answer to that question. So if all of these lives matter, of all of the people everywhere on the planet, when we expand it to that, because that's really where it's going, then what is the problem? The problem is we have a system of white supremacy.
That's right.
That says that non-white lives do not matter as much as white lives. So you got to get rid of the system of white supremacy. And when you get rid of anything, the law of the vacuum, you might say, says you got to replace it with something. So if you're going to replace the system of white supremacy, which is the dominant government on the entire planet, what do you replace it with? You replace it with a system of justice. Why? Because the system of white supremacy guarantees that there will be no justice, which means black lives automatically will not matter. That's what that means. As long as you got the system of white supremacy, black lives are not going to matter. So you have to replace the entire system, which means white people have to be involved in that.
Why is that so difficult, Mr. Fuller, for people to understand, or is it not difficult, but confusion is reigning in by the suspected white supremacists?
It's because that's what they do. They would just say, okay, let's just go around in a circle. Black Lives Matter, and then we argue and fuss and fume and have meetings and whatnot, and then somebody from the back of the room says, well, what about white lives? Don't they matter? You got black people running around here killing other black people, and so that don't give them no credibility to say Black Lives Matter when black people don't care anything about black people, and then every now and then some black person will attack a white person. I mean, with no logical reason, no constructive reason.
Yes.
You know, so does that white person's life matter? You know, and then somebody in the middle of the room says, well, if you look at it that way, well, all lives do matter, and you're right back where you started from. And that's what the white supremacists intend to do. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
By not addressing the entire system.
Right, the system of white supremacy. I'm glad you brought
every area of activity. This is what you have to do. You have to root it out or eliminate it, you might say, in economics, in education, in entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And those are the 9 areas of activity. And law is just one of those areas. Like the law enforcement officers gunning down black people. You have to clean out the system of white supremacy and have justice, which means guaranteeing that no one is mistreated in all of these areas. Now, what is one of the first things, and this is not going to, this will not, a lot of black people, particularly the black people who are doing it, they're not going to like this.
Say it anyway.
Say now.
Yes.
And that is this. When anybody kills anybody, everybody in the entire world should immediately know who did it and why. That should be the iron law of the entire universe. Doesn't make any difference what the circumstances are and all like that. Everybody on the planet, the minute someone is killed, doesn't make any difference who is killed, anywhere. Everybody in the world should know who did it and why. And then you go from there. What you do about it, I mean, you know, that goes through whatever the court systems are, or whatever, you know, whatever people say should be done about it. But if you shouldn't have any anonymous people killing people. Now, a lot of black people who are out here killing black people are not going to like that. But I'm going to say they're going to have to eat it. All right? Because we want a world in which there's no mystery when it comes to somebody killing somebody. If I go out here and kill somebody, everybody in the world should know that I did it the minute I do it.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and it doesn't make any difference whether you're white or non-white. And I should be able to stand up and say, yeah, I did it, and I'll explain why I did it, and I'll do it again.
Why did they hide?
Otherwise, that's what I mean. Nobody should be hidden. Nobody should be covered for. I mean, because, see, this question of snitching is going to come up, and that's a bunch of nonsense. Now, there's a black lady, at least recently, that came on television or something, on the internet, and they said it went viral all over the world because she was talking about these black people running around saying Black Lives Matter, and these same black people out here killing black people. The same ones.
Wow.
The same ones who are running around here saying some white person somewhere 1,000 miles away killed some black person, and that same black person is out there demonstrating, has killed 5 and 6 black people himself, and out there demonstrating so that he can take part in a riot where he can probably grab something from somebody, black or white, doing all that riotous confusion. And the lady is correct when she says that. She's not incorrect. A lot of black people got on her about that. But I'm saying, hey, there are a lot of black people who don't care anything about black people, who are running around saying they care about black people. They will kill a black person in a minute, but they will protest some white person killing a black person. In other words, basically they are saying, don't you kill that Negro, let me kill him.
Wow.
And I want a license to do it. And I want all you other black people to keep quiet about it. You should be dead before you were born, mister.
Now that is really foul. Wow. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Check us out on WCRS FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or tablet, which I've done. Ha ha ha. Listen, we go where you go. Radio the way it should be heard. Coming up next, we're going to try and get your calls through. I guess we're still having some difficulties. And I have a couple of Gmails that I'm going to read for Mr. Fuller to address. That and more coming up next on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTainmentRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTainmentRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTainmentRadio.com. Do you have a written plan for your personal success? If not, you must attend SWAT, the Key to Improved Performance, presented by Tom Dillard and Associates, September 17, 2015, 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Call 614-504-3166 to register or go to tomdillard.org and click on Events, the Key to Improved Performance.
Lonnie, I'm hungry. Where can I get some good eating?
LaGlory's Soul Food Cafe, a taste of Southern classic, located at 3350 Allegheny Avenue in Columbus, Ohio. They've got everything you need.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've got the famous LaGlory burger, chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits, walleye, perch, whiting, all Southern-style food.
Oh, my goodness! What good eating?
That's right. LaGlory's Soul Food Cafe, a taste of Southern classic, located at 3350 Allegheny Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. Be sure to tell them that All in Our Family sent you, and you will receive a extra side dish with each meal. LaGlory's Soul Food Cafe, a taste of Southern classic, located at 3350 Allegheny Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. For carry-out, call 614-237-5844. Get the menu at LaGlory'sCafe.com. Open 7 days a week.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't can't handle the truth.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
Okay, welcome back to a second slice of the action here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Again, apologies for our technical difficulties on our phone lines. They are still trying to work that out, and maybe we will be able to get some calls through for Mr. Fuller to address. But in the meantime, and in between time, since it's live radio, we're going to do it. So again, TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. That is radio the way it should be heard. This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I'm your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And let's see here. We're not ready yet for the phone line, but let's go here. Got a question, Mr. Fuller, from Tanaka from Zimbabwe. Thank you for listening from Zimbabwe and from all over the world. He says, I recall Mr. Fuller saying marriage can only exist in a supportive environment. Now, following that logic, does it not require a supportive environment for one to practice the code successfully? By code, I'm referring to the thought, speech, and action, which is counter-racism. I'll ask that part of the question first.
Yes. The supportive environment has to be the number of people who decide they are going to think, speak, and act in a manner, because that's all the code is, thought, speech, and action, in a manner that helps to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. Now, white supremacy means mistreating people based on color. That's all it is. And justice means, since you're going to replace white supremacy with a thing called justice, justice, according to the compensatory definition that I gave it, since it doesn't have a legal definition, I have been told, justice would consist of two parts: guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's part one. And part two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, that's all a person needs to remember each and every day that he or she wakes up in the morning and faces the world. Because the world is full of confusion. And what we want to do is eliminate confusion about what everybody's supposed to be doing and what everybody is not supposed to be doing.
Yes,
because everything is a matter of doing or not doing. And this is how you get what? Constructive results or non-constructive results by what people do and say. So everything that you do and say should be with the purpose of, we're going to rid the world of the greatest problem that the world has ever been faced with, and that's a thing called racism.
Yes, sir.
In the form of white supremacy. If you examine all the systems that have come up all down through the history of the universe, this has turned out to be the most powerful and the most evil.
Mm-hmm.
So you get rid of that system, but when you get rid of it, you have to replace it with a better system.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no point in getting rid of it.
Okay.
If you can't do something better.
Okay.
All right? And so that would mean guaranteeing in just your everyday actions, every black person on the planet particularly should say, everything that I do today is going to be to see to it that in any environment that I'm in, I'm going to do my best to see to it that no one is mistreated.
Exactly.
I'm going to speak up if I think that somebody's being mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ask questions.
Okay.
Not accuse somebody of something, but ask questions.
Okay.
And to guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
Okay, now
that's all it is.
He says
throughout the world.
Okay. Now he says the reason why he asked this question, and the reason why I'm going to follow through, because those that can hear the program, we don't realize how blessed we are. Anyway, he says, the reason I asked this question here is here in Zimbabwe, which was Rhodesia. To my knowledge, I'm the only person that has ever heard of Neely Fuller or the Counter-Racist Code, let alone his books. I find it extremely difficult to live according to the code in a society where people haven't the slightest clue that all their problems are a result of the global system of white supremacy racism. They blame the political system, which is predominantly non-white, and fail to see the bigger picture, which would be the white supremacists orchestrating all non-white activities, including politics of all non-white nations. Wow.
And I can see that. You know, in response to that, I'll just say, because he's probably searching for what to do about it.
Yes.
All he has to do is just point it out. You know, it's right there. It's the forest and trees type thing. Can't see the forest but the trees, which is where most of us are.
Okay.
See, so you just say the forest and the trees are one and the same. That the reason you're having problems here in Zimbabwe, let's ask some questions.
Let's ask some questions.
What are the problems? And they'll say, well, the problems are the government. And they'll say, okay, who controls the government? And they'll say, we do. It's our government here in Zimbabwe. We control the government. Now that raises another question. Well, is anybody else controlling your government that you may not know about? That's a legitimate question.
Yes, sir.
Because the answer is going to be yes or no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
And say, well, what do you mean by government anyway? Well, the things that we are able to get, I mean, the food that we eat, the railroads that are built, and all like that. I mean, who's really in charge? And then you find out, if you search deep enough or ask enough questions, which is all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers, you say, well, the people here are doing the best they can, including the people in government, but the best they can, they have to answer to somebody who is not even here in Zimbabwe. You know,
yes,
when
sir.
we bring in materials from other places, who governs that? Who determines what these materials will be? Are there somebody white or somebody black? And if so, where are these people?
Yes, sir.
Are they here? They may not be necessarily here. They may be thousands of miles away, but they're controlling everything here.
All righty.
See, ask these questions.
Ask these questions. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 2. What is your, and thank you for your patience. What is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Yes, good morning. I'm Tariq from the Bronx. Good to speak with you after a week of absence. But my question to Mr. Neely Fuller is, I'm not sure if you've been following the Sandra Bland case or not, but at first when it started, they ruled her death a suicide. And there was a lot of backlash about that verdict. And then they more recently, just I believe a few days ago, ruled it a homicide, meaning that she was killed while she was in police custody, not committed suicide. So I just wanted to know Mr. Neely Fuller's take on that, and why do they wait until the media fanfare and everything has died down to release a just verdict, which we actually know she was killed. That's my question.
Mr. Fuller, are you aware of that?
Well, sometimes I can't keep up with the pace of what's being said. So what's the gist of the question?
Tyreek, could you repeat that again?
Okay. Well, basically, when Sandra Bland, a woman who was pulled over by the police officer not too long ago, when she was first taken in, she was killed, or she had died mysteriously in her cell, and they ruled her death a suicide. And at the time they ruled that verdict, there was a lot of people saying that that was an untrue verdict, that she had no reason to kill herself, she had a bright future, and they had sensed that there was foul play in her death.
Mm-hmm.
More recently, they ruled her death a homicide, meaning that she was killed while she was in police custody.
Wow.
Do you think that they feared uproar from the masses of people if they didn't change the verdict? Or do you think this is part of their plan to keep us confused on a continual basis?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Well, here again, I'll use the standard statement that is in the Counter-Racist Code, and that is, when anything happens to a non-white person that shouldn't happen in the system of white supremacy, elected at the time, and so that's what they do. That's their specialty. And there's no way to keep them from doing that except to doubt what they tell you.
In the first place.
And in the first place, and to say, well, it happened. It shouldn't have happened. The white supremacists are the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have in the word guide. The white supremacists, when anything happens to a non-white person anywhere on the planet, that should not happen in the system of white supremacy, and that's the only system on the planet. The usual suspects are the white supremacists, and you blame them for it happening. Why? Because they're in charge.
They're in charge.
No one else is in charge. No black person has any power at all on this planet when it comes to overruling what a white supremacist say.
Wow. Brother Tyreek, before I let you go, let me get this straight. You're saying that some evidence has surfaced that the death of Sandra Bland was not as they had first reported. It was not a suicide, but it is a homicide?
Yes, I've been hearing that quite a bit over the past week.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you can, let us know whatever you find on the next show or whatever, because that is a very interesting topic, and I would like more details on it.
Okay, thank you, Brother Tyreek. I wasn't aware of that, but wow. Let's go to the phone lines. Oh, before we go, you're listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. 1-877-932-9766 is the number you can call, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and he may have a chance to get you on. Let's go to line number 4. Line number 4, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Thank you for calling in. What is your question, please? Hello? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
My question for Mr. Fuller is, I guess basically, how would you recommend making a living in the system?
Could you repeat that? We had difficulty hearing you.
Sorry. How would you recommend just making a living in the system?
Mr. Fuller?
How would I recommend living in the system?
Making a living, just enough
making
to
a living.
sustain yourself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you do whatever the white supremacists say that you can make a living at, while you're trying to do in your own small ways each and every day, try to erode the very system that you are part of, and out of that, the evolutionary process would collectively, hopefully, speedily evolve into a system of justice, because you have to work within the prison that you're in. The whole world has been made a prison. If you are non-white, you're in that prison. So in a prison, you go where you're assigned. The white supremacists tell black people what an education is. They make all the rules for education, which you got to have education, meaning learning how to do things. That's what education is, learning how to do things where you can support yourself. But the white supremacists say, you will learn what I teach you. And anything outside of that, I may not approve of it, or I may approve of it. You can propose it to me if it's something that you think you want to learn, and I'll see if whether or not you will be able to learn it, because you will only be able to learn what I teach you, you black people, in the schools that I set up. Otherwise, I will seal you off from all knowledge, because I have access to all the computers. I have access to all of the knowledge everywhere on the planet, and you are not going to get access to anything except what I say you get access to. That's what you mean by that awesome thing called white supremacy. We are all prisoners of war. We're not, people who the white supremacists are seeking to capture. We have already been captured. We were captured before we were born. We were born in prison. So therefore, we go by the prison rules. So the prison masters say, okay, well, everybody's going to mop the floors today. All you black people are going to be floor moppers. And you say, well, we don't want to be floor moppers. Say, well, what alternative do you have in my planet where you are not going to be what I say you're going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they do. That's where we are. Stop and think. If you're going to get credentialized for your education, who is going to authorize the credentials that you get? It's going to be the white supremacists, one way or another.
Okay.
And they will determine what you're qualified for.
All right. Thank you, sister. Did you have, before we let you go, did you have another question or comment?
That was more or less it. It's just, I suppose in my case, I'm an engineer, and I'm in graduate engineer right now, finishing up a graduate degree.
Yes.
And, my other degree is in physics, actually, and in both cases, it's, I understand, and I've heard other, I guess, excerpts from talks that Mr. Fuller has given, where everything that he said about that they prefer for you to be silly, that you kind of piss them off if you seem to be particularly bright or curious.
Mm-hmm.
And they, even at the graduate level, I see that there's a very small handful of other black students, and they basically just promote the silly ones pretty much. So
yeah, the game is the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sister.
Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sister.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.
All righty. What happened? Okay. We lost the call. Okay, Brother Mal, written in about George Soros. He says on the surface, talking about Black Lives Matter, he says on the surface it appears as if Black Lives Matter is a good thing due to people mobilizing, protesting, etc. However, long term, it could mean that once the funding source is cut off, then the movement also dies. In other words, we're not the key people funding this movement, so we're not in full control of which direction it goes or when it will end. So if they send in some agent provocateurs, which has happened throughout our history with various organizations and movements, then there's nothing we can do about it. And Soros is known to have done such things both here and throughout Europe. It's people being flown into Baltimore, Ferguson, and causing the most ruckus. Then one of them may assault an officer or burn a building, which in turn leads the officers to retaliate on those peaceful protesters or anyone within sight. Soros and his people didn't consult any of the on-the-ground activists in those cities. He just took over and funded it himself, no different than any other billionaire with a political agenda. Many of those that are supposed founders or leaders of this so-called Black Lives Matter campaign are black LGBTQ members as well, so divided loyalty situations continue. Were you aware that Mr. Soros, Mr. Fuller, was funding this organization, and that he has allegedly sent agents in or provocateurs, as brother had mentioned, to basically control or even circumvent the all Black Lives Matter movement?
No, I haven't heard this until now, but I don't know who Mr. Soros is. I've heard the name down through the years, and I really don't know who he is or what he's associated with or what his, his title is or what he does. But I'm hearing this morning, and I'm saying, if there is someone who is doing anything, anywhere on the planet that's associated with the Black Lives Matter movement, it should be known about. Everybody should stand up and be counted. That's why I'm saying you shouldn't have any anonymous people associated with anything that has to do with black people's affairs and trying to rid the world of racism
yes.
and replacing it with justice.
Yes.
You shouldn't have any mysterious people involved at all. When you start getting this anonymous and mysterious stuff, and we got some funding that's coming from, and usually it comes in the form of not a person's name, but some institution. All of a sudden you hear about some institution called the Conglomerate Affairs for Assistant Black People Institution. And it'll be a title,
yes,
not of a person,
yes,
but of some type of organization,
yes,
mysterious organization.
Yes.
Always be suspicious of that type of thing. People have names.
People have names.
People have things happen.
Yes.
So you want to know who the people are, what their involvement is, what their intentions are, and who's to be blamed or taking credit for what.
Yes. The reason, I kind of concur with Brother Mal on this is because in my research, in particular, what people commonly call the March on Washington, I call it the farce on Washington, and I base that on two particular pieces by Malcolm X. One is called Message to the Grassroots, in which Malcolm explains what exactly happened to that and who was involved and who took over the so-called March on Washington, which I still call the farce on Washington. And the other one was The Ballot or the Bullet, both by Malcolm X. Excellent speeches, and I would hope that people would really entertain that, take the time to entertain that and learn what Malcolm had to say back in the 60s about that particular event that happened. I don't know if you were in Washington, D.C. on there, but as a young child, I didn't really understand it. But as I got older, I used to wonder what's going on while we're still fighting over civil rights. Well, Malcolm broke it down and told who was in charge, who ran it, and what it was for, and what they did, and the programs that that resulted from that, such as Job Corps, CETA, basically programs of pacification, as Brother Namo X once said. Anyway, I found that interesting. The Message to the Grassroots by Malcolm X, or The Ballot or the Bullet by Malcolm X. And speaking about that, before we go to the phone lines, listen, if this program means a lot to you, then there's a book that you need to get, and it's called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, and you can, which is white supremacy, and it's by Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. You can get that by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. And for an additional fee, there is also a word guide which will help you to understand words and how to speak. That is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go to producejustice.com, producejustice.com, and get your copy. And all the information is right there and how to do it. Okay, let's go to line number Galen, in our remaining moments. Line number 2. You're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
My question is, I just went on the internet and I see where they have offered Freddie Gray's family $6.4 million in a settlement for his death. And what do you think about that?
Okay, good question. Mr. Fuller?
Well, somebody offered to pay it, and so that was okayed either directly or indirectly by somebody who believes in racism, presumably. And but if that satisfies the people who were involved and who said that it should be paid, then I think that, under the United Independent concept, Mr. Freddie Gray is not here to approve or disapprove of it, so someone is speaking in his behalf, so that comes down to whomever it was who say that this will settle the matter with them, then so be it, because that's the process. That's the way it should work. I mean, people, when somebody dies, the person who died is not here to speak for him or herself. So therefore, if someone says, I resent what happened that brought about the death, then what will compensate for that will be this or that or the other, then that's for that person to determine. But overall, for the collective people, meaning people who are looking at it from the sidelines, and not directly involved, like myself, I say what I always say: replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice, which means each and every day we have to have a code for that. So on your job and everywhere else, you just say, there's two things to keep in mind, just two. You don't have to have a whole lot of things going on in your head. You can just say, wait a minute, is anybody being mistreated here? This morning, you know, at this time, is anybody being mistreated? Because all of the machines should stop. Everything should slow down. All the computers stop. I mean, just stop everything. Pull the plug and find out, how is this person being mistreated before we proceed? Because nobody's supposed to be mistreated in this office, in this factory, in this warehouse, in this whatever it is, in this general store. And then the other thing is, guarantee that the person that needs help the most, right where you are, gets the most constructive help. Now, if we do that worldwide, this problem will go away instantly, because that puts white supremacists out of business, because they are dedicated to two things: mistreatment, and that's it. Mistreatment. Yeah, just get rid of the mistreatment in both of those things in that equation of justice, and that is guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
All righty. Thank you, caller. And thank you for putting up with us today in our technical difficulties. Thank you so much. Remember, write Ed Dozier if you have somebody that's going to sponsor this show at eddozier@talktainmentradio.com, and we'll try to get a 2-hour show going on. Talktainmentradio.com, the world's greatest radio. That is radio the way it should be heard. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Fuller.
In all racial matters is why one should always ask it.
Radio.
Talktainment Radio, worldwide style. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest, and not necessarily those of Talktainmentradio.com.